So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Shari Mirkin.
Good afternoon. Hi, thank you for coming to our event. My name is Shari Mirkin, for those of you who do not know me, and I am married to Dan. I am a mother of 3 children. I have a 6, 4, and 2-year-old, and I'm also the CFO of Trade Ideas. Ever since I met Dan in 1997, he has been a big advocate for women. And I believe this stems from growing up in a household with strong, independent women, his mom and his sister. Over the past several years, Dan has had many conversations about wanting to empower and educate women about taking an active role in their financial futures. This past year, one of our keynote speakers, Jane, has become affiliated with Trade Ideas. And her impact and success is one of the reasons that we are here today. I am here to share my story and show you that there are many different ways to be involved in the stock market. I studied finance at the University of Arizona, an extremely male-dominated major, which, by the way, was not a bad thing for a female college student. I found out very quickly it was the same in the finance sector in the real world. With today's technology, it's really hard to believe that when I was a senior in college, that was the first time that I had my own computer. Email was rarely used, and it was really used in school for the professors to push out information to their students. Cell phones, they did not exist, at least in my world. It was the era of pagers, and no, I did not have one. As I was interviewing for jobs my senior year, it was really either go work for one of the big 6 accounting firms, which didn't really seem, at the time, something that was for me, or work selling financial products for commission-only salary. These jobs started by studying for exams, and then them wanting you to contact all of your friends and your family, and just at that time of my life, that was not something I was comfortable with. And I also didn't like that a lot of these companies, they didn't really invest in you. You had to pay for all of your exams, which was quite expensive, and your classroom prep work to prepare you to pass all these exams. It was a big time and financial commitment that I wasn't ready to take, primarily because I wasn't really excited about it. So I graduated without a job. I did turn down some job offers, so it was by choice. And I moved to San Diego. I must say that first summer in San Diego was a lot of fun. But by mid-August, I realized I needed to crack down and find some work. Otherwise, I was going to probably have to go back to Arizona and live with mom and dad. And we all know how devastated Dan would have been if that happened, if I had to move away from California. So I finally got my first job post-college. They had a great product. It was a very small marketing company with a great product, and they were able to execute very well despite a lot of internal turmoil. I was hired to be the president's assistant. I thought, hey, that's not a bad first job out of school. But I found out on day 4 that indeed, when I was interviewing, the receptionist had resigned. And I had actually been hired for that job. The new president's assistant was going to be starting the following Monday. This did not sit well with me. So I spoke up, and this is a trait I can thank my mother dearly for. We decided I would take that Friday off, and we would all reassess the situation. I never went back. About a week later, I got my first post-college paycheck in the mail. I open up the letter, pull the check out, paid to the order of Sherry Brooks, and in the memo section, it says, supplies. I just started bawling. The tears were flowing. I was so upset. I'm like, how insulting. I'm a supply. I realized that, I'd worked during high school, into the summers during college, and I didn't really care that they were just trying to save both of us on payroll taxes for my short stint. It just didn't sit well with me. And Dan had assured me that one day I would be able to look back at this experience and laugh. At the time, it seemed impossible, but he was right. So it was back to resume time. Coincidentally, Dan's assistant was going back to school, and he needed help running his consulting business, Active Trade. At the time, day trading, which is extreme active investing, buying and selling stocks, maybe 10, 20, or even more times in one day, was gaining in popularity. I thought, what a great way to make a living. You wake up, grab your cup of coffee, turn your computer on, and speculate trading stocks using, the software and tools that you have available, and you're doing it with your buddies all day long. How great is that? At the time, there were really interesting stocks like Yahoo, AOL, and it was the beginning of the internet IPO boom. It was very exciting. And at the time, Apple Computer was at risk of going out of business, which is extremely hard to believe today. In retrospect, probably should have bought some Apple stock back then. So Dan was a professional stock trader for his own and was expanding the business by attracting new traders and teaching them how to be active in the markets. I helped to teach people how to use and interact with the software and understand the stock market. A handful of clients invested from home, remotely from home, but most of the clients came into the office. This was fascinating to me. The trading room was a room full of desks and computers and monitors, and many people had 2 or 4 monitors just for themselves. There was just a ton of information flowing, and there was just a lot of activity. You really felt like you were the pulse of the market and the pulse of what was going on in the world. Using the software, you could literally push one button and buy or sell stocks. Just like today with Amazon one click. It was amazing that this tech was available to the active investor 18 years ago. It was technologically advanced for the time, and personally, I felt very tech savvy. Opportunities arose through working in the trading room. We ended up opening our own trading office and developing our own trading software, Future Trade, which ultimately led to Trade Ideas. As we expanded our business, I had to get a number of licenses in order to run and manage the office. I have to say, it was pretty cool being an integral part of developing a software program to interact with the stock market. I created the back office portion of it, which didn't have all the pretty bells and whistles of the front-end user, but it was really the nuts and bolts of the software. I later moved on to run a boutique broker-dealer, Viewpoint Securities, with an insanely crazy man this broker-dealer catered to the $5 to $15 million hedge fund that was just starting out. I was so involved in helping investors and money managers by running the brokerage operations, placing trades, clearing and settling trades, reporting, research, and marketing, and I myself did not have skin in the game. I was just as smart as these guys, and by the way, I had access to most of the same tools too. Here I am, my life's immersed in the stock market, and yet I hadn't invested for myself. I had bought and sold stocks hundreds of times for clients. I knew that there was nothing scary about it. When I think back, I was dealing in large monetary transactions, and I personally did not have the risk capital as the clients that I had. But then I remembered my dad teaching me this lesson, to start investing at a young age, even if it's only a small amount. He said, start early. Don't make the same mistake by starting to invest later in life. So when one of our companies, Future Trade, offered a 401k program in the early 2000s, I took his advice and I began contributing each paycheck. After a few months of seeing how easy it was to put a little money away each month, I realized that, hey, I can start small in my own brokerage account. I wanted to be in control and choose my own investments and not just be invested in mutual funds that were offered through the 401k. It was so easy. Online brokerages like E-Trade, they make the process very simple to open an account online, fund it online, do your trades online. You have all the access. I decided to put a little money away each month and to take an approach of buying companies that I knew and used personally. I bought companies like American Express, Amazon, Lululemon. I finally ended up buying some Apple computer, and Whole Foods. I started small, oftentimes only bought 5 or 10 shares of stock. One time I only had enough available funds to buy 1 share of Google. But you know what? I wanted to own Google. I wanted to say that I was a part of it. Having my money invested and working for me over the past 10 years has paid off. I don't check my portfolios daily, but when I do log into my accounts, I feel a huge sense of accomplishment. I own just 45 shares of Amazon, and those 45 shares have a profit of more than $27,000. 45 shares. I'm proud of my success. It's awesome to see that I've been able to outperform the S&P. It's very empowering to see and to be a part of. So my advice is that if you haven't started investing for yourself, I highly encourage you to start at some scale today. Just like my dad said, start small. It's never too late to take control.